Now we're going to move on to example A. Before we get there, it says the triangles from the truss that Greg examined illustrate an important point about congruent triangles. In congruent triangles, corresponding pairs of sides are congruent, and corresponding pairs of angles are congruent. These are the corresponding parts. When you write a congruent statement like triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, you write the vertices so that the corresponding parts are in the same order. So you can conclude that line segment AB is congruent to line segment DE. Line segment BC is congruent to line segment EF. Line segment AC is congruent to line segment DF. Angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle E. And angle C is congruent to angle F. Over here in the math terms, it says corresponding parts result from a one-to-one matching of sides and angles from one figure to another. Congruent triangles have 3 pairs of congruent sides and 3 pairs of congruent angles. Let's take a look at example A now. Example A has been worked out for us, so let's take a look at the example that they've provided. For the truss shown below, Greg knows that triangle JKL and triangle MNP is congruent. Greg wants to determine if there are any additional lengths or angle measures that he can determine. Since triangle JKL is congruent to triangle MNP, we know that KL is congruent to NP. That means that KL equals NP. So if NP is 2.1 meters, since KP was 2.1, or KL, sorry, because they're the same measure. Also, since JKL is congruent to MNP as triangles, then we know that angle K is congruent to angle N. This means that the measure of angle K equals the measure of angle N. So if we already know that angle N is 50 degrees, we also know that K is 50 degrees. Here we're at the try these. It says in the figure, triangle RST is congruent to triangle XYZ. Find the following if possible. Here's what's going to happen. On the next slide, you're going to see a time to climb referring back to these particular questions. So before you move forward, I would suggest that you take about the next 7 minutes to see if you can compute the measurements. If not, you'll probably say that there wasn't enough information. On to your time and climb. Good luck.